leader of the group, and here is my members. So today, we're going to discuss our topic, the Unit 4, Laws Pertaining to Teachers. For Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers, it will be reported by Teacher Aina Marie Ventura. For Republic Act 4670, Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, it will be reported by Teacher Mark Francis Gregorio. For Expanded Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act, it will be reported through yours, Ezra A. Ganal Jr. For our Science and Technology Scholarship Program, it will be reported by 2 teachers. For Republic Act 7687, Science and Technology Scholarship Act of 1994, it will be reported by Teacher John Ray Gino. For Republic Act 8248, an act further strengthening the science and technology program of the government and amending for the purpose RA 7687 and Republic Act 10612, Fast Track SNT Scholarship Act of 2013, will be reported by Teacher Glenn Valencia. So what are you waiting for? Let's start!
And for our first topic in this report is the Code of Ethics for the Professional Teachers. But before we go into that, we will know first our objective in this topic. So after this topic, you should be able to first demonstrate understanding of the importance of Code of Ethics for professional teachers. Second, articulate the roles of professional teachers stipulated in every article. And lastly, apply ethical, moral principle, standards, and values as professional teachers in the performance of daily endeavors. So the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994, or the RE 7836, states that the code spells out very clear ideals and standard of a teacher's relationship with various education stakeholders. So this simply says that the code are the ideals or standards on how a professional teacher should do and behave with the different education stakeholders, in which we will tackle that on the next slide. So we have here the first, the teacher in the state, Article 2. First, as a trustee of the cultural and educational heritage of the nation, the teacher is duty-bound to transmit the learners such heritage and must exert the best effort possible to promote obedience to the law of the state. So here, the teachers is viewed as a trustee of the cultural and educational heritage of the nation. And under this obligation is to transmit to learners such heritage as well as to promote national pride and cultivate love of country. And through that, the teacher could allow students to relate previous experiences to their learning inside the schools and mold them to realize the importance of historical perspective of cultures and education. Next is help carry out the declared policies of the state. So every teacher or school official shall actively help carry out the declared policy of our country and shall take an oath to this effect. Third, demonstrate full commitment and devotion to duty. So this means that every teacher shall possess and actualize a full commitment and devotion to their duty. Remain from engaging in the promotion of any political, religious, or other partisan interest. So the teacher should and shall not engage in the promotion of any political, religious, or other partisan interest. So the teacher, they are prohibited to influence in that kind of matter. Number 5. Exercise his right of suffrage and all other constitutional rights. As a responsible citizen, every teacher shall vote and shall practice and exercise all their constitutional rights and responsibility. Next is refrain from using his position or official authority to influence or coerce the political actions or behavior of other person. So a teacher sees as an influential person, so a teacher should not use his position or facial authority to influence to coerce any other person to follow any political course of action. And lastly, enjoy academic freedom and be responsible in taking the privilege of expounding the product of his researcher and investigation in the interest of the nation. So the every teacher can enjoy the academic freedom and they have privilege of expounding the product of his researchers and investigation. But they should be responsible that the result can make conflict in the declared policy of the state. So next is the Article 3, which is the teacher and the community. And first is provide an environment conducting to learning and youth development. So the teacher is responsible and facilitator of learning and of the development of the youth. So they shall do their best service by providing an environment conducive to such learning and growth. Second is provide leadership and initiative for the betterment of the community. So as a teacher, it is their duty to provide leadership given they have a strong character and initiative to actively participate in community movements for the betterment. Third, refrain from engaging in all sorts of immoral activities. So given that the teacher teaches and promote a good moral character and values to their students, they should do what they teach. That is why they should refrain from the activities that is immoral. Next is study, understand, and promote local customs and traditions. So, as a teacher, they should have an attitude of love to our country and shall live for and with the community. That is why they should study and understand local customs and tradition in order to have a sympathetic attitude. Next is keep the community informed about schoolworks, activities, and accomplishments. So the teacher should help the school to keep the people and community informed about the school's works and accomplishment, as well as its needs and problems to have a better environment. 6 is establish and maintain harmonious relationship with other professionals, government officials, and practically all people. So the teachers, it is their obligation to maintain such a harmonious and pleasant personal and official relations with other professionals, with government officials, and with the people, because it is expected to them and it is important to their character. And lastly, attend freely one's church and worship as appropriate without using his position to influence others. A teacher has a freedom to attend church and worship as appropriate, but it should not be used their position and influence others in terms of that, in which they should respect one's culture and beliefs. So next is the Article 4 and the teacher and the profession. Under this article are the following. First is manifest pride in the nobility of the teaching profession. Every teacher shall actively ensure that teaching is a noblest profession, and shall manifest genuine enthusiasm and pride in teaching as a noble calling. Second is always be at his best in the practice of the profession. As a teacher, they should uphold the highest possible standards of quality education. They should make the best preparation for the career of teaching and be at his best at all times in the practice of his profession. Third, avoid making improper misinterpretation in the process of seeking support for the school. So every teacher should help because they are authorized to do that. They seek support from the school, but they are prohibited to make improper misinterpretations through personal advertisement and other questionable means. Next is engage actively and continuously in one's professional growth and advancement. So as a teacher, you are responsible to that, to improve his efficiency, enhance the profession, and strengthen his competence, virtues, and productivity in order to be nationally and internationally competitive. And lastly, live up to the nobility and integrity of the teaching profession. So you as a teacher, you will live also as a teacher with nobility and integrity. You should live up what you teach, and most importantly, you should love and embrace your teaching profession. So now we will proceed to the teacher and the teaching community. First is be imbued with the spirit of professional loyalty, faithfulness, and cooperativeness with others with the teaching profession. So as a teacher, this is very important in the teaching profession that you should build a full cooperation with your colleagues and students and always support one another. Second is sincerely acknowledge or recognize assistance from colleagues. So given if the teacher has a some works that who are not them, in which they are not entitled to claim credit of the work of not of his own, in which they shall give due credit for the works of others which he may use. Next is organize and turn over records in order they to their successor. So if the teacher would like to leave his position, a teacher shall organize for whoever assumed the position such records and other data as are necessary to carry on the work. Next is keep information confidential until it has been formally released. As a teacher, they should respect all confidential information concerning the school and they are prohibited to tell to anyone all the documents which has not been officially released or remove records from the files without permission. Next is seek correctives for unprofessional or unethical conduct of an associate. So it is the responsibility of every teacher to seek correctives for what may appear to be an unprofessional doing. But this may be done only if there is a strong evidence for such inappropriate conduct. Next is submit to proper authorities any justifiable criticism against an associate. So as a teacher, you may consult with the proper authorities of any unjustifiable criticism against an associate, preferably through letter without violating the right of the individual. And lastly, apply for a vacant position for which he is qualified, provided that all qualified candidates are given opportunities to be considered. So as a teacher, you can apply for a vacant position from whom he is qualified in which that he or she respects the system of selecting considering the qualified candidates are given the opportunity. So now we will proceed to the teacher and the higher authorities in the profession. First in the list is support the legitimate policy of the school and the administration regardless of personal feelings or private opinion. So it is the duty of the teacher to make it his duty to an honest effort to understand and support the legitimate policy of the school and the administration regardless of the personal feelings or the private opinion towards it. Second is make no false and anonymous accusation or charges against superior. So a teacher should not make any of the false accusation or the charges against their superiors, but if there are any valid charges against it, which means that you can still consult it. Next is observe protocol in transacting official business. So this simply means that all the teachers shall transact all official business properly. Next is consider the welfare and interest of the learners when seeking redress against all forms of injustice and in raising grievance to the administration. So every teacher, individually or as a part of a group, has a right to seek redress against injustice to the administration. In doing so, a teacher must avoid into putting something into conflict or harm in the welfare of learners whose right to learn must be respected. Next is recognize the principle that appointments, promotion, and transfer are made only on the basis of merit and are needed in the interest of service. So this means that the teacher has a right to invoke the principle that appointments, promotion, and transfer of teachers are made only on the basis of merit and needed in the interest of service. And lastly, live up to the contract, for example, employment, terms, and conditions. So this means that a teacher who accepts a position assumes a contractual obligation to live up to his contract and they are expected to have a full knowledge of employment, terms, and conditions. So now we are here in the school official, teacher, and other personnel. First here is show professional courtesy, helpfulness, and sympathy toward teachers and other personnel. So all school officials are expected at all times to show some professional courtesy, helpfulness, and sympathy towards teachers and other personnel in their school, because this is the standard of the effective school supervision, dignified administration, and responsible leadership. Next is consider policy formulation and change innovation as cooperative responsibly. So the school officials, teachers, and other school personnel should consider it their cooperative responsibility to formulate policies or introduce important changes in the system at all times. Next is attend to professional growth of teacher, like promotion, recognition, attendance to in-service trainings. The school official shall encourage and attend the professional growth of all teachers under them, such as recommending them for promotion, giving them recognition for performance, and allowing them to participate in conferences and training programs. Next is never dismiss or recommend the dismissal of a teacher or other subordinates, except for just cause. So no school officials shall dismiss or recommend for dismissal a teacher or other subordinates except for cause. And lastly, ensure that public school teachers are employed in accordance with pertinent civil service rules and private school teachers in accordance with contracts. The school authorities should ensure that public school teachers are employed in accordance with the pertinent civil service rules, and the private school teachers are issued contracts specifying the terms and conditions of their work in accordance with the law. So now we will proceed to the teachers and the parents. First is establish and maintain harmonious relationship with parents and treat them with utmost respect. So a teacher should establish and maintain a good relationship with the parents of their students and treat them with respect at all times. Next is inform parents of the progress and all sort of deficiency of their children. So every teacher should really inform the parents of the progress and deficiency of the student under him, especially the student deficiency, so that the teacher can cooperate with the parents for the proper guidance and improvement of the students. Next is seek parents' cooperation for the proper guidance and improvements of the learners. So it is important to consult the parents if their child has a problem so that you can give a proper guidance to it. And next is discourage the parents from making ill remarks and unfounded criticism about the school as a whole. So a teacher should always emphasize the parents to avoid criticizing the school as a whole. Instead, if they have a problem, they can always refer it to the official. And lastly, hear parents' complaints with sympathy and understanding. So as a teacher, you should also hear parents' complaints with sympathy and understanding to avoid any conflict. Next is the teacher and business. First is engage in legitimate income generating activities. So every teacher has the right to engage directly or indirectly in legitimate income generation, but this should not or can affect his work as a teacher. Next is maintain a good reputation with respect to financial matters. So as a teacher, it is important that you should maintain a good reputation in terms of your financial views in life. Next is settle promptly all debts and or make satisfactory arrangement on the teacher's financial affairs. So this means that the teacher should be more responsible, especially in their debts. And lastly, avoid acting as an agent of any business venture engaged in furnishing textbook and other school commodities of which the teacher can possibly exercise influence in their purchase and distribution. So, no teacher should act directly or indirectly as an agent of or be financially interested in, especially in the school-related commodities, in which they can influence a lot of people. The teacher as a person. First is live dignity at all time wherever they are. So as a teacher, as a human being, above all, it is their obligation to live with dignity at all times, whether in school, in the home, or elsewhere, and they should cherish and give importance to that dignity. Next is place premium upon self-respect and self-discipline. So it is important as a teacher that you should place premium upon self-discipline as the primary principle of personal behavior in all relationship with others and all situation that you may experience. So next is serve as a model worthy of emulation. So a teacher should maintain at all times a dignified personality which could serve as a model worthy of emulation by learners, peers, and all others. The teacher as a person. First is live dignity at all time wherever they are. So as a teacher, as a human being, above all, it is their obligation to live with dignity at all times, whether in school, in the home, or elsewhere. And they should cherish and give importance to that dignity. Next is place premium upon self-respect and self-discipline. So it is important as a teacher that you should place premium upon self-discipline as the primary principle of personal behavior in all relationship with others and all situation that you may experience. So next is serve as a model worthy of emulation. So a teacher should maintain at all times a dignified personality which could serve as a model worthy of emulation by learners, peers, and all others. And lastly, recognize God as guide of the teacher's own destiny and of others. As a teacher, always recognize the Almighty God as guide of his own destiny and of the destinies of men and nations. And now we are done to our last topic in this code of ethics, which is the disciplinary action. First is the revocation of certificate of registration and license as a professional teacher. So this means that if you violate any of this, your license will not be valid anymore. Next is suspension from practice of teaching profession. So you could suspend from your work. Next is reprimand or cancellation of temporary or special permit. So if you are still kumukuha ng permit, they can still cancel it. Next is registration, professional license, or special or temporary permit. So you cannot process your registration or permit. So next is chronic inebriety or habitual use of drug. So ito yung mga nakagawian na pagkapit ng mga droga. Next is violation of any provision of this Act, the rules and regulation, and other policies of the Board and the Commission, and the Code of Ethical and Professional Standard for Professional Teachers. So this Code of Ethics that you should not violate because this might lead you to some consequences. Instead, serve it as a guide. And lastly, the unjustified or willful failure to attend seminars, workshop, conference, and the like, or the continuing education program prescribed by the board and the commission. So this means that if you were not able to attend seminars that were prescribed by the board and commission, mayroong possibility na you can matagalan ka ng trabaho. That's all for this topic, and thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Mark Francis Gregorio, and now let's move on to the Republic Act number 4670, or also known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, Declaration of Policy and Coverage. So, in the Section 1, it is the Declaration of Policy. It hereby declared to be the policy of this Act to promote and improve the social and the economic status of public school teachers, their living and working condition, their terms of employment and career perspective, in order that they may compare favorably with existing opportunities in other walks of lives and attract and retain in teaching profession more people with proper qualifications. It being recognized that advance in education depends on the qualification and ability of the teaching staff, and education is essential factors in economic growth of the nation as productive investment of vital importance. So that's all in Section 1. So it's really important that the teachers has a rules or the policy that will follow, and also they will be guided. So we are now in Section 2, title definition. This act shall be known as the Magna Carta for public school teachers and shall apply to all public school teachers except those in professional, staff, or state colleges and universities. As used in this act, teachers shall mean all persons engaged in classrooms teaching in any level of instruction on full-time basis, including guidance counselor, school librarians, industrial arts or vocational instructors, and all other persons performing supervisor and administrative function in all schools, college, and universities operated by the school government or its political subdivision, but shall not include school nurses, school physician, school dentist, and other school employees. So those are the belong to the Magna Carta or the Section 2. And now let's move on to the recruitment and career. So in Section 3, recruitment and career qualification, recruitment policy with respect to the section and appointment of teachers shall be clearly defined by the Department of Education and provided, however, the effect upon the approval of this act and following shall constitute minimum of education qualification for teacher. So for teachers in the kindergarten or elementary, or also known as the bachelor degree in elementary, should have an 18 units, and for teachers for the secondary school bachelor degree in education or its equivalent with a major and minor or bachelor degree in arts or sciences with at least 18 professional units in education. For teachers of secondary vocational and 2 years technical courses, bachelor's degree in field of specialization with at least 18 units in education. And lastly, for teachers of courses of the collegiate level other than vocational master's degree with specific area of specification. So those are the person that can teach in public schools. So it is provided further that in the absence of applicant who possess the minimum education qualification as herein above, provided the school superintendent may appoint under a temporary status applicant who do not meet the minimum qualification. Provided further that should teacher applicant, whether they possess the minimum education qualification or not, be required to take competitive examination, preference in making appointment shall be in order of their respective ranks in said competitive examination, and provided finally that the result of examination shall be made public and every applicant shall be furnished with the score and rank in the said examination. So those are the things that a teacher should have. In Section 4, provisionary period, when recruitment takes place after adequate training and professional preparation in any school recognized by the government, no provisionary period preceding regular appointment shall be imposed if the teacher possesses the appropriate civil service eligibility. Provided, however, that there, due to the exigency of the service, it is necessary to employ as teacher as a person possess civil service eligibility. Such person shall be appointed on a provisional status and shall undergo a period of probation for not less than 1 year from and after the date of his provision appointment. In Section 5, tenure of office. Stability on employment and security of tenure shall be assured the teacher as provided under existing law. So teachers are safe by the laws, or they are protected by the laws, subject to the provisions of Section 3 thereof. Teachers appointed on provisional status of lack of necessary civil service eligibility shall be extended permanent appointed for the position he is holding after having rendered at least 10 years of continuous efficient and faithful service in position. In Section 6, the consent for transportation expenses, except for costs and as herein otherwise provided, no teacher shall be transferred without his consent from one station to another. So teacher must also has the consent if she wanted to go in other school or not. So teacher has a power also. So where the exigence of the service require the transfer of the teachers from one station to another, such as transfer may be affected by the school superintendent, who shall be previously notify the teacher concerned of transfer. And transfer the reason, therefore, if the teachers believe there is no justification for transfer, so kung dili kailangan jud ang transfer, walay valid reason, he may appeal his case from the director of public schools or the director of vocational education, as case may be. So if possible wala siya gi-approvean sa una niyang gi-appeal, pwede pa siya mag second appeal na pod. So pending his appeal on the decision thereon, his transfer shall be held in abeyance, provided, however, that no transfer whatever shall be made 3 months before any location or any local or national election. So bawal ka mo transfer 3 months before ang election. So necessary transfer expenses of the teachers and his family shall be paid for by the government if his transfers is finally approved. So government ang mag-handle tanan. In Section 7, Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers, within 6 months for the approval of this act, the Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare a code for professional conduct for public teachers. A copy of the code shall be furnished each teachers, provided, however, that wherein this is not possible by reason of inadequate fiscal resources of the Department of Education, at least 3 copies of the same code shall be deposited within the office of the school principal or head teachers, where they may be accessible for use by the teachers. In Section 8, Safeguards in Disciplinary Procedures. Every teacher shall enjoy equitable safeguard at each stage of any disciplinary procedures and shall have, first, the right to be informed in writing of charges. Second, the right to fully access to the evidence in the case. Third is the right to defend himself and to be defended by a representative of his choice and or by his organization. Adequate time being given to the teacher for the preparation of his defense, and the right to appeal to clear designated authorities. No publicity shall be given to any disciplinary action being taken against a teacher during the pendency of his case. In Section 9, Administrative Charges. Administrative charges against a teacher shall be heard initially by the committee composed of the corresponding school superintendent of the division or a duly authorized representative who should at least have the rank of a division supervisor, where the teacher belongs as chairman, a representative of the local or, in its absence, any existing provincial or national teachers organization, and the supervisor of the division. The last two to be designated by the directors of public school. The committee shall submit its finding and recommendation of the directors of public school within 30 days from the termination of the hearing. Provided, however, that where the school superintendent is the complainant or an interested party of the member of the committee shall be appointed by the Secretary of Education. In Section 10, no discrimination. So, there shall be no discrimination whatsoever in entrance to the teaching profession or during its existence, during its exercise, or in termination of service based on other than professional consideration. So teachers are also protected by the law, even though that she is undergoing to the termination. But pag hindi pa final, so saklaw pa po siya ng batas ng Section 10. So in Section 11, married teachers. Whenever possible, the proper authorities shall take all steps to enable married couple, both of whom are public school teachers, to be employed in the same locality. Section 12, the academic freedom. Teachers shall enjoy academic freedom in the discharge of their professional duties. particular with regard to teaching and classroom methods. So they have academic freedom when it comes to their professional duties. So may kalayaan po ang mga teachers. So that's all on the recruitment and career. So now let's move on to the hours of work and remuneration. So in section 13, teaching hours, any teacher engaged in actual classroom instruction shall not be required to render more than 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day, which shall be so scheduled as to give him time for the preparation of correction of exercise and other work incidents to his normal teaching duties, provided, however, that where other that exigency of the service is required, any teacher may require to render more than 6 hours but not exceeding 8 hours of the actual classroom. So, pag mag-exceed na ang teacher sa 6 hours, add up compensation na siya, which is at least 25% of his basic salary ang makuha sa teacher pag mag-overtime na. So, in section 14, additional compensation. Notwithstanding any provision of existing law to the contrary of curricula and out of school activities and any of others activity outside of what is defined as normal duties of any teacher shall be paid and additional compensation of at least 25% of his regular remuneration after the teacher has completed at least 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day. In the case of other teachers or school officials not engaged in actual classroom instruction, any work performed in excess of 8 hours a day shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 25% of their regular remuneration. So na siya add compensation pag magsobra ka sa working hours. So it's really important na kailangan punan pod ng pansin ng government ang teachers natin sapagkat grabe ang gina-effort sa teacher para lang matutukan ang mga bata, and I believe that increase of income for teachers are really right and just for them. In section 15, criteria for salaries. Teachers' salaries shall correspond of the following criteria. First, they shall compare favorably with those paid in other occupation requiring equivalent or similar qualification, training, and abilities. Second is that they shall be such as to ensure teachers a reasonable standard of life for themselves and their families. And the third one is they shall be properly graded so as to recognize the fact that certain positions required high qualifications and greater responsibility than others, provided, however, that the general salary scale shall be such that the relation between the lowest and the highest salary paid in the profession will be of reasonable order. Now, narrowing of this salary scale shall be achieved by raising the lower end of the salary scale related to the upper end. So, it is right and just lang po na kung usa ang position sa teacher mo, po ito ang dapat na salary sa teachers. They depend on the qualification, the training of the teachers, and the abilities of the teachers to the criteria of the salaries. In section 16, salary scale. Salary scale of teachers shall be provided for a gradual progression from a minimum to a maximum salary by means of regular increments granted automatically after 3 years, provided that the efficient rating of the teachers concerned is at least satisfactory. The progression of the minimum to maximums of the salary scale shall not extend over a period of 10 years. So, years by years, gina-scale ang teacher, ginatanaw kung sa ilang capabilities. Then by that, dira mabalaan og pila ang increase sa salary. Section 17. Equality in salary scales. The salary scales of teachers, those salaries are appropriated by a city, municipality, district, or provincial government, shall not be less than those provided for teachers of the national government. In section 18, cost of living allowance. Teachers' salaries shall at very least keep pace with the rise of the cost of living by the payment of a cost of living allowance which shall automatically follow changes in a cost of living index. The Secretary of Education shall in consultation with the proper government entities recommended to Congress at least annual the appropriate of the necessary funds for the cost of living allowance of the teachers employed by the national government. The determination of cost of living allowance by the Secretary of Education shall, upon approval of the President of the Philippines, be binding on the city, municipal, of provincial government for the purpose of calculating the cost of living allowance of teachers under its employ. In Section 19, special hardship allowance in areas in which teachers are exposed to hardship such as difficulty, yung mga teachers na nandoon sa bukid, in commuting to the places of work or other hazard peculiar to the place of employment as determined by the Secretary of Education, they shall be compensated a special hardship allowance equivalent to at least 25% of their monthly salary. In Section 20, salaries to be paid in legal tender. Salaries of teachers shall be paid in legal tender of the Philippines or its equivalent in checks or treasury warrants, provided, however, that such checks of treasury warrants shall be cashable in any national, provincial, city, or municipal treasury office or any banking institution operating under the laws of Republic of the Philippines. Section 21. Deduction prohibited. No person shall make any deduction whatsoever from the salary of the teacher except under the specific authority of laws authorizing such deduction, provided, however, that upon writing authority executed by the teacher concerned, 1. Of full dues and fees owing to the Philippine Public School Teachers Association, and the second one is the premium properly due on insurance policy shall be considered deducted. So now let's move on to the healthy measures and injury benefits. So in Section 22, medical examination and treatment, compulsory medical examination shall be provided free of charge for all teachers before they take up teaching, and shall be repeated not less than once a year during the teacher's profession's life. Where medical examination show that medical treatment and or hospitalization is necessary, same shall be provided free by the government entity paying the salary of teachers. In regions where there is scarcity of medical facility, teachers may obtain elsewhere the necessary medical care with the right to be reimbursed for the traveling expenses by the government entity concerned in the first paragraph of this section. In Section 23, compensation for injuries, teachers shall be protected against the consequence of employment injuries in accordance with existing laws, and the effect of the physical and nervous strain on the teacher's health shall be recognized as a compensable occupational disease in accordance with existing laws. Let's now proceed to leave and retirement benefits. In Section 24, study leave. In addition to the leave privilege now enjoyed by teachers in the public schools, they shall be entitled to study leave not exceeding 1 year after 7 years of service. Such leave shall be granted in accordance with a schedule set by the Department of Education. During the period of such leave, the teacher shall be entitled to at least 6% of their monthly salary, provided, however, that no need an additional semester to finish his thesis for his graduate study in education or allied courses. Provided further that no compensation shall be due to the teacher after the first year of such leave. In all cases, the study leave period shall be counted for seniority and compensation purpose. The compensation allowed for 1 year study leave as herein provided shall be subject to the condition that the teachers takes the regular study load of and passes at least 75% of his courses. Study leave or more than 1 year may be permitted by the Secretary of Education but without compensation. So in Section 25, indefinite leave. An indefinite sick leave absence shall be granted to teachers when the nature of illness demands a long treatment and shall not be exceed 1 year at least. So, and in Section 26, salary increase upon retirement. Public school teachers having fulfilled in the age of service requirements of the applicable retirement laws shall be given on range salary raise upon retirement, which shall be a basis of computation of the lump sum of the retirement pay of the monthly benefits thereafter. So that's all about the Republic Act number 4670, and I hope that you've learned a lot from this, because as a future educator, we will use this knowledge or this lesson for us to be knowledgeable of becoming a teachers and the rules and regulation of the teachers, and what is the benefits that we can get from being a teachers or the public school teachers. And I hope that you've learned something.
Good day, I am Elzer A. Ganal Jr. and I will going to state what are the expanded government assistance to students and teachers and Private Education Act. But before that, let me read our objective. In this lesson, you are expected to review the salient provisions of RA 6728 and RA 8445. Identify the criteria in granting government financial assistance to private education. Enumerate the government financial assistance program through infomercial and brochure. And analyze critically the benefits of government financial assistance in promoting access to education. For Republic Act 8545, expanded government assistance to the Students and Teachers and Private Education Act, the criteria for assistance includes: first, the tuition fee of charges by the school. Second, socio-economic needs of each region giving priority to social reform agenda. Third, overall performance of the schools. Fourth, academic qualifications and financial needs of the students and teachers. Fifth, financial needs of the school. Sixth, geographical spread and size of student population. And for the number 7, the students must be enrolled in schools which have accredited program or applying for accreditation. Preferences shall be given to students whose family income is not more than 72,000 pesos. Programs of assistance to students and teachers of private post-secondary vocational and technical institution and higher education institution shall likewise be extended to students and teachers of community college and degree and non-degree programs. Implementation of the program shall encourage students to undergo post-secondary vocational and technical and higher education courses in the same region where their families resides. The financial assistance shall be extended only to students who are citizens of the Philippines, and it is under Section 3. Let's begin for the Section 4, Forms of Assistance. The forms of assistance to students and private education are the following. First, tuition fee supplements for students in private high school, including students in vocational and technical courses. Second, high school textbooks assistance fund. Third, expansion of existing educational service contracting or the ESC scheme. Fourth, the voucher system of the Private Education Student Financial Assistance Program or the PESPA. Fifth, scholarship grants to students graduating as valedictorians and salutatorians from secondary schools. And sixth, tuition fee supplements to students in private colleges and university. And 7, educational loan fund. while the assistance to teachers in the private education are in-service training fund and college faculty development fund, and it is under section 10. The financial assistance for tuition for students in private high school shall be provided by the government through a voucher system for students enrolled in schools charging an amount as may be determined by the State Assistant Council. The government shall provide them a voucher in such an amount as may be determined by the Council, provided that the government shall embrace the vouchers from the schools concerned within 120 days from the close of the registration period, and it is under Section 5. For Section 6, High School Textbooks Assistance Fund. The government also provides assistance for high school textbooks. The Department of Education or the DepEd shall establish a high school textbooks assistance fund so that the assistance can be given to each student enrolled in private schools. The textbooks assistance shall be granted only to the beneficiaries of tuition fee supplements and educational service contracting scheme. Section 7. Expansion of the existing educational service contracting or the ESC scheme. With regard to the educational service contracting scheme or the ESC, DepEd shall continue to enter into contracts with private school whereby the government shall shoulder tuition and other fees of high school students who shall enroll in high school under this program. DepEd shall also enter into contract with private schools and communities where there are no public high schools, in which case the department shall shoulder the tuition and the other fees of students shall enroll in said private schools. It is emphasized that the amount of assistance to be given by the government shall not exceed that determined as the per student cost in public high school, and the department shall fully pay the subsidized amount of participating schools not only or later than 180 days from the close of the registration period. Section 8. Assistance to college freshmen. First, voucher system of private education student financial assistance or the PCFB program. These assistance cover degree and non-degree vocational or technical courses, including a qualified enrolling first-year students. Such as financial assistance shall be granted to deserving unprivileged students who shall be selected on the basis of family income, geographical spread, and results of competitive examinations to be given by the CHED for degree courses and the TESDA for non-degree vocational technical courses in all secondary schools in coordination with the DECS. The program shall be equitably allocated to provinces and cities in accordance with regional and national plans to priority courses as determined by the CHED and the TESDA. Under the law, an unprivileged student is referred to as whose gross income, if any, and that of the combined annual gross income of his parents do not exceed 72,000 pesos. Second, private post-secondary vocational and technical institution and higher educational institution shall provide for full and half tuition waivers for 5% of the entering freshmen, which shall include, among others, valedictorians and salutatorians are both public high schools and private high school, provided that those valedictorians and salutatorians meet admission tests of the school centered. 3. In addition, the tuition waivers granted by the school concerned, the valedictorians shall be entitled to allowances from the government as provided to PESPA grantees, provided they shall enroll in priority courses. Likewise, other honorees, in case that the graduating class is composed of more than 250 students, all salutatorians, and the first honorable mention graduates may also be entitled to be allowance. Section 10. Educational or Education Loan Fund. The Student Loan Fund, which is administered by the Commission on Higher Education or the CHED, and the Technical Education and System Development Authority or the TESDA, to finance the educational loans to cover matriculation and the other school fees and expenses like books and board and lodging through the Study Now, Pay Later program. Amounts covering payments for tuition and other school fees shall be paid directly to the schools concerned. Any loan granted shall be paid by the student debtor after he has finished the course of profession for which he received of the loan was expended, but only after a period of 2 years from the time he has acquired an employment, provided, however, that interest at the rate of or more than 6% per annual shall accrue on the balance. Therefore, the Social Security system shall also give assistance to its member and to private school for school buildings and improvement of their facilities. For Section 11, condition for the disqualification. Any student who fails for one school year in the majority of the academic subjects in which he has enrolled during the course of his study shall not be qualified to avail of the benefits of this law, unless such failure is due to some valid cause beyond his control. Section 12. In the Service Training Fund, that Ed shall establish an incent fund to provide for the upgrading of technical know-how, pedagogical skills and competencies, as well as the use of multimedia and ICT skills of teachers. The incent fund shall only be available to licensed teachers in participating private schools. Another condition is that the amount of incent fund available to private secondary education shall not exceed what is available to public secondary education on a per capita basis. Section 13. College Faculty Development Fund. In both TESDA and CHED, there shall be a College Faculty Development Fund to provide for scholarships for graduate degree and non-degree workshops or seminars for faculty members in private, post-secondary vocational and technical institution and higher education institution, provided that the faculty member recipients of such scholarship shall serve as many number of years return service for every year with prevailing national economic and development authority policies on return service of government scholars. The scholarship shall be priority courses as determined by the TESDA and the CHED and cannot be awarded to promote or inhibit sectarian purposes. Section 14. Teachers' Salary Subsidy Fund. Teacher salary subsidy funds aim to grant government subsidy to teachers and private high school participating in the program of assistance, provided that the total monthly salary, which include subsidy to receive by such private high school teachers, shall not be more than 80% of the salary of his counterpart in the public sector. That the amount of this monthly subsidy shall not exceed the amount of any monthly salary increase that teachers in public high school shall after the effectivity of this act hereinafter receive. That private high school teachers qualified to receive subsidy under this act are duly licensed by the Professional Regulation Commission. That the government shall provide them with a voucher for the salary subsidy, which shall be reimbursed directly to the teachers within 60 days after the close of the year upon submission of proof of qualification and actual teaching service in a participating private high school. That the present allocation out of increases from tuition and other shall have been maintained, and that in case of insufficiency of funds, priority shall be given to merit teachers supporting a family. Section 15. Program Administration, Rules and Regulation. The main actor in the implementation of the financial assistance in the State Assistance Council, which shall be responsible for policy, guidance, and direction, monitoring and evaluation of new and existing programs, and the promulgation of the rules and regulation. While the Department of Education, Culture and Sports, the TESDA, and the CHED shall be responsible for the day-to-day administration and program implementation for the programs of assistance to private secondary education, post-secondary vocational and technical education, and higher education, respectively. Likewise, it may engage the services and support of any qualified government or private entity for its implementation. The State Assistance Council is headed by the DepEd Secretary as chair, the chairperson of CHED and TESDA as co-chairs, representatives from National Economic and Development Authority or the NEDA, Department of Budget and Management or the DBM, Department of Science and Technology or the DOST, representatives from duly organized nationwide association of teachers, students, parents, and school administrators concerned with secondary, post-secondary vocational and technical education and higher education as members. A representative each from the committees on education of both houses of Congress shall be designated resources person to the Council. Once again, I am Elzer A. Ganal Jr., and we must now move on to the next reporter.
Good day, my name is John Regino. So the topic is Science and Technology Scholarship Program. In this lesson, you are expected to review the salient provision of RA 7687, RA 8248, and RA 10612, and identify the qualification in science and technology scholarships, enumerate the incentives of science and technology scholarship, and revisit the process of implementing the science and technology scholarship through essay and interview. So first is we discuss the Republic Act 7687, Science and Technology Scholarship of 1994. So in Section 6, The grant of any scholarship award shall be applied only in the field of science, mathematics, engineering, and such other areas in the undergraduate or postgraduate courses as may be provided for in the rules and regulation to be promulgated by the Department of Science and Technology and the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports provided. However, that the scholarship grant for the postgraduate level shall not be limited to those scholars or recipients who are graduates of the undergraduate scholarship program. So the students who are taking a science and technology courses will be granted of scholarship that should be applied in the field of science, mathematics, engineering, and such other areas in the undergraduate or postgraduate courses. So let's proceed to the section 7. The grantee of the scholarship program in this entitled to financial assistance, which may include tuition and other school fees. Outright grant for prescribed textbooks and essential school supplies. Outright grant for preschool, military science, and physical education uniform, transportation expenses, and monthly living allowance provided. However, that in the granting of financial assistance, the ability of funds, purchase power of the peso, and rate financial assistance giving under other government scholarship program must be considered. So in section 7, the scholarship program with the financial assistance that include tuition and other school fee, uniforms, books, and other fees. So let's proceed to the section 8. In order to qualify for the scholarship program, the applicant must be a member the top 5% of the high school graduating class, regardless of gender, religion, and culture affiliation. Second, a resident of municipality for the last 4 years prior to avail of the scholarships. Attested by the school record. And last, we have a good moral character and good health. In section 9, the scholarship program shall be supported by appropriate courses for value formation of school, will inculcate in them the virtues of nationalism, industriousness, honesty, commitment to the national development, and an effective work ethics. So in section 9, you should be liable when you are granted of the scholarship to inculcate in them the virtues of nationalism, industriousness, honesty, and etc. So let's proceed to section 10. Distribution of scholarship slots. DOST shall provide for a proportional and equitable allotment of slots for identified fields of science and technology to attain and balance the distribution of manpower in terms of number and expertise. DOST shall be also organize a program geared toward enlisting at least 2 scholars in each municipality of the Philippines and at least 10 scholars per those congressional district without municipal. Qualified members of the cultural, minority in appropriate cases shall be given due preference. So in section 10, DOS must be proportional and equability or equal for a value of the formation of scholars. So let's proceed to the section 12, place of study outside the home country. The scholarship grant provided herein shall not be limited to studying only in any school in this country, but would include the scholars who can be granted the opportunity to study abroad in schools specializing in courses state therein provided. However, that a grantee was qualified for study abroad must execute an undertaking binding himself to return to the country to fulfill his service obligation on the basis of the length of his scholarship. The Department of Foreign Affairs, DFA, is hereby directed to give full assistance in enforcing such undertaking. So in section 12, the scholarship is limited to studying in any school only in this country, but the scholarship is granted also for study abroad. So let's proceed to the section 13, service obligation. Immediately upon completion of Bachelor of Science, a scholar shall serve the country on full-time basis only along his field of training for a minimum period equivalent to the length of the time a scholar enjoy the scholarship by rendering service to his province or municipality by organizing technology-based livelihood activities or enterprises, teaching or such other service related to the course training that he has completed, and for this purpose requiring the execution of contract between the government, the scholar, incorporating the details of the said service obligation. So in section 13, the scholar must be serve the country offer he graduate within the proper courses and trainings in any field. A scholar who violate the service obligation will impose under the section. So let's proceed to the section 14. Section 14, post-scholarship incentives. In order to encourage graduate of the scholar program to serve in-fulfillment of their service obligation and entice them to continue to stay and service in the country even beyond their service obligation, they shall be entitled to the following incentives. First, priority for job placement in the government or in the private sector in position appropriate to their area of education training. Second, grants in aid access government research facilities in the conduct of research and development projects and other service and technology activities. Third, access to the credit with liberal terms from government banks and financial institutions. Fourth is to payment of hardship and or hazard allowance to those who are engaged in research and other science and technology activities that pose danger and cause hardship to their well-being. And last, travel accident of coverage. So in section 14, encouraging the scholar to stay serve the country after they graduate with the proper courses in field of science and technology, and shall be entitled to the following incentives. So let's proceed to the section 16, implementing body. The scholarship program herein provided shall be directly implemented by the DOST through the Science Education Institute. So the section 16, the scholarship should be directly provided by the DOST through the Science Education Institute. So the RA 7687 also clarify the flow of getting scholarships and also providing a good scholarship to talented and deserving student whose their family's status do not exceed the set cut-off values of certain indicators. That's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Let's continue our topic, the Science and Technology Scholarship Program. Okay, let's start. Republic Act 8248, an act for discontinuing the Science and Technology Program of the government and amending for the purpose RA 7687. In Section 1 of RA 8248 provides an amendment of Section 4 of RA 4687 to 18, the Science and Technology Human Resource Development Council, which shall be chaired by the Secretary of the DOST and shall be composed of the following members. Okay, number 1, the Chairman of the Commission of Higher Education, CHED, the Secretary of the Department of Education, Culture and Sport, DECS, and the Director General of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, TESDA, the Secretary of the Department of Budget Management Authority, DBM, and lastly, the President of the Philippine Association of State Universities, Colleges, PASUC. Okay, the Council shall perform the following functions. Number 1, coordinate science and technology human resource development programs. Number 2, formulate a medium and long-term science and technology human resource development plan in accordance with the national medium-term plans. Number 3, formulate broad policies for the allocations of science and technology scholarships. Number 4, formulate policies on advanced degree programs for science and technology. Number 5, formulate a career system for technologists and technicians to complement the scientific degree system. Number 6, formulate programs to train and retrain scientists, engineers, researchers, and technologists and encourage them through various incentives to return and practice their professionals in the Philippines to enhance and accelerate the technological development of the country. And number 7, perform other functions necessary to effectively implement the provisions of this act. In Section 1, the Science and Technology Human Resource Development Plan shall be submitted to the President within 6 months after the effectivity of this act. The Council shall have term of 4 years commencing for the effectivity of this act unless otherwise extended by the Congress. In the Republic Act 10612, Fast Track S&T Scholarship Act of 2013. The objective of the law is to strengthen the country's science and technology education by fast-tracking graduates in science, mathematics, and engineering who shall teach science and mathematics subjects in secondary schools throughout the country. Towards this end, scholarship shall be provided to finance the education of talented and deserving students in their third year in college and pursuing a degree or training in in the areas of science and technology, and to provide incentives for them to pursue a career in teaching in high school, especially in their home regions. In Section 3, the scholarship program builds on the current science and technology scholarships offered by DOST through the Science Education Institute (SEI) as provided for in Republic Act 7687, Science and Technology Scholarship Act of 1994. It envisions a fast-tracking of more science, technology, and engineering graduates by offering scholarship to deserving students in these courses in their third year of undergraduate study based on their competitiveness and merit. It also offers additional incentives to attract the graduates of this scholarship program into teaching science, mathematics, and technology courses in the public or private high school. Section 4. The following qualification for the scholarship with teaching incentives: applicants must, number 1, be a Filipino citizen. Number 2, be a regular third-year college student at the time of award. Number 3, be currently enrolled in any of the state universities or colleges or in private universities, especially in Commission of Higher Education, CHED, compliance programs under any of the identified priority SNT courses. Number 4, have a general weight average GWA of 83% or better during the first and second year of college. And number 5, qualify in the junior level science scholarship examination. This is for Section 5. Section 7, provide for duration of the scholarship. The recipient shall be entitled to an award for the last 2 years of undergraduate study or the last 3 years for those enrolled in 5-year courses such as engineering while matriculating in an approved program. Section 8 state that the recipient shall pursue degree in science, technology, and engineering as identified and approved by DOST as priority SNT courses. Applicants who are currently enrolled under such courses under the CHED compliant programs will be given priority. Section 9, terms and conditions. The applicants for scholarship must execute a service contract in which they, number 1, agree to teach as their return of service, ROS. Number 2, agree to any of the approved ROS conditions. And number 3, agree to repay the amounts disbursed plus interest pursuant to the terms of their service contract. After the completion of the scholarship, the return of service provides that the recipients must teach full-time high school subjects in mathematics, biology, chemistry, or physics, or information, agricultural, aquaculture, or fisheries technology, both in the university and technical vocational tracks in the secondary education curriculum for a minimum of 2 years in a public or private high school. Section 10. The incentives granted to qualified graduates who shall teach at a public or private high school for a minimum of 2 years are: number 1, a starting salary with equivalent to that of special science teacher 1 in the Philippine Science High School system. Number 2, priority for job replacement in any high school, public or private, of their choice within the country, with first priority in their home province. Number 3, A one-time relocation allowance should they be assigned in a place other than the permanent resident. Okay, number 4, scholarship in identified teacher education institutes for science education courses. Number 5, pass the licensure examination for teachers let within 5 years of hiring. That is for section 11. The law provides for training of teachers in section 12. The Philippine Normal University of PNU being the National Center of the Teacher Education for Republic Act 9647, Philippine Normal University Modernization Act of 2009, and its network of universities in teacher education like the National Network of Normal Schools 3NS, as well as CHED. In teacher education, like the National Network Normal Schools. Compliant program in teacher education and centers for teacher training recognized by CHED and DepEd are hereby tasked to provide training for hired teacher under this program for this purpose. 1,000 scholarships are made available every year to this hired teachers to be sourced from DepEd to be coordinated with their implementation of the Teacher Education and Training Provisions of Republic Act 10533, Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. The graduates of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics courses and professionals who are not recipients of the scholarship program provided for in this act may also apply to teach science, mathematics, or technology of subjects in a public-private high school. However, applicants must, number 1, be a Filipino citizen, have graduated with science and technology, engineering, or mathematics degree, with a GWA of 83% or better from a reputable universities. Number 3, be at least 40 years of age at the time of applicant. And number 4, not have a service obligation under another program in conflict with the SEI obligation. Section 13. The implementing agencies of the scholarship program or the SEI shall be the main implementing agency. The SEI shall be responsible for evaluation, award giving, and monitoring of scholarship grants and awardees. The institute is also tasked with coordinating with other relevant agencies in Section 14. DepEd is hereby tasked to ensure job replacement and hiring of qualified graduates under this program as secondary school teacher in science, mathematics, and related technology courses to ensure that these teachers are hired at special science teacher salary grade levels. The department is also tasked with the evaluation of monitoring of hired teachers under this program. This is from section 15. So that's all. Thank you.